Hey, it's Tansel, four-time Australian memory champion, international best-selling author, and your memory and learning coach. So today we're going to look at how to pass exams. And this is a big one because over the years, I've helped so many people sit and pass the world's hardest exams. And there are three stages really that I've gone through with them, and I'd like to share that with you today. So let's get started. Now, these three stages essentially help you to understand, you know, how to attack and plan your approach to an exam, right? Because a lot of people don't really have much of an approach to passing exams, right? It's cramming last minute. That's a strategy I used to have when I was young, before I even learnt about memory techniques. In fact, I got into memory techniques after I finished university. So yeah, wish I could have known earlier. So hopefully for those people that are sitting university exams or professional certifications, things like that, this is going to help you extremely assist you. So let's get started. Now, I've identified three stages to this. There's obviously a lot more around it, but grouping the stages up hopefully will help you understand what's going on. So I'll start with stage one, right? And this is a mind mapping program, XMind, if you're wondering. So stage one, you've obviously got preparation. So what does this mean? Well, I'll open it up here. It means understanding what's involved in the exam. You want to know, okay, I'm sitting this particular exam. What am I dealing with? What's the information? You need to get everything that you need for this exam. So whether it's, PDF, online PDFs, or whether it's, physical books, resources, whatever, and try and understand, look, you've got an idea of what it's about, but what's the exam actually presenting you? That's a different question, right? Also, preparation is, have you spoken to other exam takers? That's another thing as well. This is like like your research stage, right? Pre-exam research stage. Like, okay, what did people say about this particular exam? What are their thoughts? Was it hard? Was it easy? And does the exam keep changing? You're not going to speak to just one person, right? So speaking to people help. And also, what do you know about it? What's your own knowledge of this exam? If you don't know anything, you better go find out, right? So that's the sort of the preparation stage. The next stage really is to map out and organize all your resources. So that's, like I said, getting all your materials, whether it's online or physical, and then putting them right in front of you and say, okay, in order to pass this exam, this is all I've got, all the information. And this is important because it dictates how we're going to proceed to the next levels after that. And the number one thing to do for any exam that I believe, it's not memorization. Learning part's important, obviously, but it's the mapping out and organization of information that is crucial. Because when you receive information, right, whether it's reading a textbook or articles, things like that, you're getting it in a linear format, right? So you're getting page by page of information, but it's not structured in a way where information's connecting to one another. So what does that mean? That means, like, if there's a particular topic on page 12, right, of a textbook, that might connect to something on page 50, and it might connect to something on page 300. Do you see what I mean? So there's no direct linkages that you can see, only from the chapter it's referenced by. Whereas something like a mind map, for example, you can see everything related to that particular topic and area just by the branch, right? So if you map out your books, your articles, all that sort of stuff in an effective manner, then you'll be able to understand your content a lot more, because now you can actually follow the pattern, right, of the information. So information has a bit of a pattern, right? If we're reading a book from start to finish, there's no pattern there. It's just all information. However, if we can see where everything's lined up in branches, it's easier on the mind, because rather than saying, here's 400 pages that I have to go through, six, branches here is all that might sum up those 400 pages, right? It might not be that easy, but in some cases it has been when I've worked with people. So mapping out all your resources, organizing them is best. And here's another example of organization, right? If I was to get on a whiteboard or blackboard, whatever, and just put a whole bunch of dots on it and said, okay, guess how many dots there are? Would you be able to get it? Probably not. You'll only be able to guess, right? And if you did get it, it would be a guess. You don't want to guess on your exam, right? However, if I did 10 dots across, 10 dots down, and filled them all equally, within a matter of moments, you'll be able to go, oh, yeah, there's 10 and 10, that's 100, right? That's organized information. The first one is not organized. So once information's organized, your brain can comprehend it a lot better. So that's what this part is. And all these stages, they're not hard to do. They're actually not very difficult. So implementing them is a crucial step. So mapping it out, obviously you want to check the information for correctness as well. Like if you've got resource from, what's it called? Wikipedia, or, you've been to an online blog or something like that. You want to check all that, right? So you want to check for correctness. What do I write here? Check with others, any institutions you're doing the exams with, online, official mediums, unofficial mediums, all that sort of stuff, right? So unofficial could be YouTube, websites, like I said, could be Wikipedia, whatever. So you want to make sure that the information is correct. That might not take you a long time, right? So there's that. Then said gather all resources, all the information. Once you've got all that, you've mapped it all out, gather it. And then the next bit is essentially analyzing and understanding what's going on, right? So you're looking at your mind mapping going, okay, this chapter's about this, that's about that, and so on. And if you're mind mapping a textbook, you're essentially going to map out chapter by chapter, right? And then the sub chapters underneath those chapters and sub chapters, headings, all that sort of stuff until getting to like the keywords at the end. I'll do a bit more videos on that as well. So that's the first stage. It's about organization of the information and what you know and what you could see. Once you've got that, you've prepared your mind to tackle the learning, right? If you don't do this and get straight into the learning, it makes it a lot more challenging because now you have to do two things at once or sometimes multiple things at once, right? Usually when people get into learning mode, right, if they don't have a system, they're trying to understand it, they're trying to read it, they're trying to make sense of it, they're trying to remember it, they're trying to study it, they're trying to reflect on it, they're trying to review it, they're trying to do all those things at once, right? It is crazy. So I try and take a different approach where we do stage by stage. So if you get that stage, then you go to the next one, then you go to the next one, and so on. So stage two, this is where the learning happens. So visualizing your content. And visualization, what that does is that there's a lot of abstract information with what you're studying, right? It could be technical, it could be formulas, it could be whatever. You can't just get that into your head, right? What you need to be able to do is you need to be able to visualize all of these things. And if you visualize the content, right, make a visual, then it makes it easier to comprehend and understand. And if it's easily understood, then you can remember it, recall it for the exam, right? But it's not all about recall in this sense here, right? We got to test our knowledge, what we know, not our memory. Just test what you know, because here there'll be a lot of mistakes, right? And that's good because what you want to know is you want to know what you know and what you don't know. Because for all the things you don't know, then it's like, okay, what systems do I need for the things that I don't know? Right? Yes, you're going to probably need things to solidify the knowledge that you know here, but over here, you want to make sure that, oh, things you don't get, what are the techniques, what are the strategies, what are the approach that you might need to connect and use your brain to get that stuff and, essentially not. So then you got memorization of content. So when I say memorize and visualize, yes, visualization sort of memorizes a bit, but I'm talking here about using memory techniques. And memorization is really, you're probably looking at 5 to 10% of all content, really, right? Unless everything's about remembering a certain, definition perfectly. Or it could be, excuse me, or it could be that you're trying to remember an order or sequence of things. If that's the case, then you use memory techniques like a memory palace or even linking system one by one. That works really good as well because, memory palaces, if you've got a lot of information and using a lot of memory palaces, it's a bit of a nightmare. And for me, I'd rather not use memory palace, and just link everything together, because that way I'm combining my visualization, the encoding part, with the linking part. Much easier to do than create locations just for the sake of exams. Um, you can do that. Even with flashcards, right? A lot of people use flashcards. If you use flashcards, you can just use linking and association to connect and remember these cards. So that's the second stage. You only need to memorize things towards the end after you've understood and visualized everything, right? Then stage three is more about, okay, um, you've got all that information in your head. I have to review it now. So it's a review and testing stage, right? It just doesn't pass when, you've got everything in your head. You want to make sure that you're ready. So you go back, you review, you might even do spaced repetition, right? Which is going back every so and so time to review. So for example, if you've learned something on a particular day, you go back 2 hours later to go and review it. Then you've gone back a day later, then a week later, 2 weeks later, and so on. So it sort of, doubles. It's exponential. So, and then when you do that, it solidifies the knowledge a little bit more when you're going back to review. And that essentially involves not just looking at words and reviewing it like cramming wise. This is reviewing the stories in your what you've created in your mind map, or notes or things like that, right? And you want to test that. You want to make sure that when you do test it, see how you go. There might be mock tests. It might be just, just random ones that you can come up with yourself, but you want to know what you actually remember, and you want to solidify that knowledge once you've gotten mistakes or know that you're weak in certain areas. You want to go back, and to solidify knowledge, you essentially do this: just go and revisualize things, right? Visualization is very, very powerful, by the way, if you hadn't noticed, right? The more you do the visualization of the content, the more you're going to get. If you're just reading stuff over and over again, that's the worst thing you can do, because you're not getting it into the brain. You might think you are, and you probably are, very, very small percentage, but the stress is going to eliminate that, right? When you're stressed, the blood rushes down from, your head. So what do you think happens then? Do you have the tip of the tongue moments, or you just, oh, I think I got it in my mind, I'm going to forget? You don't want that to happen, right? You want to solidify the knowledge, you want to visualize it, strengthen your story, and solidify. And then there's obviously, day of the exam strategies as well, which could essentially be a stage four, because that's a separate thing on its own altogether. It's like, what do I do on exam day? How do I breathe properly? And, how do I eat? And what time is the exam? And all about energy levels and stuff. Because if you can maintain your energy, especially your energy levels throughout the day or whatever time it is, then you can maximize your performance, right? And that's the key thing. Like when I used to do the memory competitions, energy levels was absolutely crucial. Like what I ate, what I drank, very, very important, because that's the nutrients that you get, nourishment you get through that gives you the right amount of energy or not. So 3 stages. Let's go through a bit of a summary. Preparation stage, right? Here's stage one, making sure that all the information is correct that you've got, and that you're ready to sort of understand the flow of it. Stage two is mapping everything out and learning it by visualization, and then using memory if need be, testing yourself a bit there. This is retesting, making sure that you can solidify what you've got, because you don't want to just test yourself once and off you go. You want to test again after going through and memorizing the content, and then getting to solidifying that knowledge by revisualizing, and then doing the exam strategies at the end. And there's a lot of them. Like I said, breathing was one. You could also look at your energy levels and so on. So, and there was also things like, procrastination, time management, all of that stuff. So if you're interested in learning how to apply this, if you've got an exam, message me or go to my website, tantalala.com. Send me an email, because I'll help you out. Like I said, I've helped people pass the world's hardest exams. Like one guy came up to me, he said, Tansel, I need to pass, a sommelier exam, wine tasting exam. And this exam is by far one of the hardest in the world, right? After doing this, he passed it. Another lady came up to me for a finance exam, right? I think it might have been CFA or something like that. Applied this model, passed it, right? Another person, a police officer, had to sit a police exam, right? And applied this model again, passed. So you can use whatever field you're in. I mean, bar exam, I even had that, right? So if you're a lawyer, this works really well. It's not as simple as obviously applying just these. I've obviously got so much more underneath, but if you were to take an exam tomorrow and just did the basics of these, I can guarantee you you'll do a lot better. So hopefully that's helped you out. If you've got any questions, comment down below, but message me if you've got an exam coming up or really need to pass. I'll be happy to help you out. So thank you, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.